Hey everyone, Diavolo here, and welcome back to my review for chapter 242 of Tokyo Revengers. If you guys are new around here and want to keep up to date with the latest Tokyo Revengers reviews and just other anime reviews in general or spoiler videos in general, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and also be sure to leave a like on the video, as it really helps out with the algorithm and pushes my stuff to a bunch of new amazing people. But anyway, enough of that, let's get into this chapter, cause I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot that goes on this week and that's revealed to us throughout this flashback that we were having last week with Senju. So chapter 242 starts off pretty much exactly where we left off in that flashback, with Senju revealing to us what happened on this fateful day, I guess you could say. And she says, on that day, Mikey and Haruchio changed, or Mikey and Sanzu changed. And we get to see, you know, like Mikey running around with this big kind of like jet aeroplane. It looks like a Concorde jet or whatever, flying around and jumping everywhere with it. And like he says, it's extremely cool, and it's called the Concorde plastic model, which obviously, so I kind of guessed it right, it just looked like a Concorde jet to me. So it is the Concorde airliner, or the plastic model, which is a super jet or whatever. They got taken out of production by, I can't remember what company it was, but it got taken out of production because it was just too inefficient for its size and how many people could take at the time, from memory. I'm probably wrong, but yeah. I don't know why I needed to add that in, but yeah. And obviously we have Senju kind of there watching it, saying, that model looks so cool, I want one too. And Takamichi looking at this is like, well, hey man, that's not too girlish of you. Obviously expecting Senju, you know, like to be extremely girlish. And it's said here that Senju uses ore, which is masculine from the form of like I, or like she's referring to herself as a male when she says I want one too. So that's quite interesting. I love how like the Japanese have got different kinds of dialects with or like versions of things that you can say. I don't know how it works exactly, but I'd love to learn Japanese in the future. And Takamichi kind of gets annoyed at Haruchio or Sanzu here and says that, you know, like he's been teaching her the wrong words, I guess you could say. And he says like, since I'm not leaving home anymore, obviously this being Takamichi, I'll have to set a good example for her. In which Haruchio like apologizes and says that he's sorry, and he seems, you know, like extremely timid and stuff. And Takamichi notices that immediately, being like, Sanzu-kun was like that. Kind of weird how Takamichi still refers to him as Sanzu-kun when he's kind of, you know, he's done what he's done and stuff. I don't know why he still refers to him in that kind of way, but you know, all for Takamichi to do what he wants to do. But Senju kind of reveals to us here that they were raised by a single father, so he left us at grandma's, which is kind of like revealing that he was raised by more of, you know, like a female in a way. And Takamichi also plays that father role when he was there, I guess you could say, when he wasn't always out doing other things or something like that as well. And because of her mistakes, Takamichi had gotten mad at Haruchio. She says, even though Haruchio was always nice to me, but on that day, and obviously it goes back into the flashback here, and then it goes to the point after everything had kind of cooled down from Haruchio getting told off, or Sanzu getting told off here, and he's sitting alone on the deck, kind of sulking and just upset about everything that had happened. And he says, I don't want to talk anymore. Because of you, I'm always the one who's getting yelled at. Do you understand? And he kind of like sulking there. He's like, why me? And she apologizes to him, obviously not realizing this because she's a child and he's kind of just a child as well. And these are just things that you think when you're young. Like, you have no idea that people are kind of trying to help you, and a lot of the time you probably just think they're picking on you, but when in all reality, they're not. Most of the time they are actually just trying to help you out. But he doesn't obviously realize that here, because it would be kind of weird for, you know, like obviously Senju to grow up and to be referring to herself as a male if she didn't realize that that was the male pronoun or whatever, if you know what I mean. Like, she can do it if she realizes, but you know, if she doesn't realize, then she needs to know, you know what I mean? And as she looks around, she notices that like everyone else is gone, and she goes upstairs and she sees Mikey's Concorde jet sitting on its kind of like pedestal on the shelf, and she immediately picks it up, not listening to what Mikey had said earlier, and starts flying around with it throughout her room. And she's jumping around on all the tables and everything, and expectedly, you know, like before she falls, you even see it's like Shinichiro, who obviously had built it for Mikey, says it took him a month to finish that model. And as like he says that, she falls straight to the ground and smashes a part of its wing and the nose completely off, just destroying it completely and ruining this awesome model that Mikey had. Obviously probably going to set him into a rage or whatever, but what set him off even more is what gets revealed pretty much from here on out. This is like the big stuff that actually happens throughout the chapter here. And then Mikey like finds his plane obviously broken on the ground, and she goes to apologize, but before she could finish it completely, he says who, and he asks her, you know, like, did you know, like, or did you see who broke the airplane, obviously? And she says, in the future, like context now, like, I can't remember why I lied. Maybe it was because he got scolded that day. But she blames, you know, Sanzu for actually breaking the plane and playing around with it and everything. And she says here that I didn't expect the lie would cause so much pain. And obviously, you know, that's a reflection on everything that has happened now from this moment, or at least she thinks from this moment. This is the moment that she thinks Mikey unlocked his, you know, dark impulses and went NATO pretty much. She says, like, I only heard fragments of what happened after that. And as she like runs from the bedroom where she was reading to outside, she hears like her brother screaming and holding his face as she like rounds the corner there. And she says, I saw Haruchio with his mouth ripped and Baji on the ground, and there stood Mikey with his hands soaked in blood. So obviously this is like, I don't know if you watch my spoiler video, you should be watching them, but if that's not your thing, then fair enough. But obviously we saw this panel in the spoiler chapter, so it's extremely interesting to the context now to what exactly happened, you know, like leading up to this panel. So all over a plane, and then, you know, pretty much just charred things, blaming it on someone else. You wouldn't have expected it to evolve into such a large, you know, like mess, but it has here, and then it's continued to evolve throughout the future even more. Every time something gets bad, Mikey, you know, ends up resulting in that fighting and hurting people instead of, you know, just resolving it through words, I guess you could say. And Mikey tells like Haruchio to smile, but before we see the outcome of that, it like flicks back to Senju and Takamichi in the future here, talking to each other while she explains this. She says, I'm convinced that during that battle, the battle of the three deities she's referring to, it was the same Mikey standing on that day. So she thinks she saw the same Mikey, you know, like fighting with his dark impulses as the same Mikey from her childhood when he attacked and hurt Sanzu and cut his face. She says like ever since that day, they all changed. Mikey, Baji, and Sanzu. And then finally, like, we see Sanzu laughing with his cut lips and like obviously the iconic scars that he has that we've all seen, you know, throughout the story so far. And Senju says they all changed and it's because of me. Obviously she's over like reacting the entire situation, and this is probably something that Mikey just has deep set down, because if you think about it, everything that's kind of like happened to him throughout his life is not good for a child to have, you know, like happen to them. And there's a lot of people in criminal psychology that would probably agree with me if they were watching this show. The amount of like brutal stuff that has happened to this child is just unrealistic, and it shouldn't go down. Who knows what could have happened beforehand in his life to set him off to this point, but I don't think the Concorde jet would have been the initial point, you know what I mean? So kind of random to think that, you know, like this compilation of Senju lying here has resulted in this. But obviously she says here, you know, like it's too late now to do anything. So obviously her goal was to show Mikey that she could be stronger than him and probably get in some kind of way, you know, like apologize to him for what she had done in the past and let him know that it wasn't Sanzu that broke that plane, it was actually her, and just confess everything. But I guess she's never gotten that opportunity or been able to be stronger than Mikey to have her listen to her, or at least that's kind of what I'm thinking. She says, I'm just a failure. But then Takamichi steps in and says, it's not a lost cause yet. I'm also a failure, you know, obviously referring to the fact because Takamichi has failed so many times in the past, and you know, it's all about moving forward in the series, and I think that's pretty much what they're sticking with here. And I love the final panel in the chapter, which is a double panel, which is just beautiful because we haven't had any like nice Takamichi double panels in a little while here. We got the one with the Mitsuya stuff in the previous chapters with the people walking across the stage, but it wasn't anything like this. And Takamichi screams out, we can turn this failure around, so Senju, come with me, obviously referring to her joining the gang. He says, let's turn over the Kanto Manji gang. So it looks like Takamichi has, you know, invited Senju to join the gang, and it ends with her kind of having like a faint smile and tears coming out of her eyes at the end of the chapter here. So the cast is finally complete. and the new team's first meeting is in the next chapter. So that is what we are going to be getting next week. The nice little comment down the bottom of the final, I guess, panel there is always great when they kind of reveal to us what is going to be going down. So we're going to have everyone meeting up in, you know, like next week, and I wonder if there's going to be any extras possibly that we haven't expected are going to show up. Who knows? Who knows? You never know. So maybe we might have a Hanma show up. Who actually knows? It'd be really cool to see him again, even if he is on like Mikey's side and the bad team or something. It'd be awesome to just have him as part of the story again. But obviously I'd love to know what you guys all think down in the comment section below, so make sure you do drop a comment down there and let me know what you guys thought about the chapter, and obviously what you think is going to happen throughout the meeting next week. Do you think Mikey is going to show up perhaps, and it's going to go down kind of like last time when, you know, two gangs meet up and then they all ended up having a row? Do you think something similar could happen here? Let me know down below. But, you know, if you guys are new around here and want to keep up to date with the latest Tokyo Revengers chapters before it ends, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to leave a like on the video. But for now, it's been your professional degenerate Diavolo, and I will see you all in a bit. Bye.